This video is sponsored by Squarespace. More on them later in the video. On today's episode of WatchJRGo, we're here to talk about Destiny 2000, an incredibly rare antique EV that I tried to buy 3 different times, and it's one of the few cars that ever got away from me. What is going on, guys? I am WatchJRGo, and today we are here to talk about one of the few cars that I've tried to buy and it's fallen through completely. And even crazier, it fell through 3 complete times. So, the car in question was a 1985 Pontiac Fiero, but it was no ordinary Pontiac Fiero. It was another factory-built EV like this one, although there were 400 of these Geo Metros that were converted by the company Selectria. This was even more rare. There were way less electric Pontiac Fieros built by this company, Solar Electric Engineering. I don't know how, but somehow all of these EV car companies are solar companies, or they turn into solar companies. Selectria was bought by Yaskawa, the people that built this car, and now they build inverters for solar panels and solar arrays. Just something about solar and electricity, and eventually I guess they find out there's more money to be made on the solar side than the car side, and they just head that way. Anyway, 1985 Pontiac Fiero and Solar Electric Engineering converted these things with golf cart batteries, basically. They would take 18 Trojan R125 6-volt batteries, not 12 volts like this thing has, and they would stack them in a Fiero. Obviously, once you pull the engine out of the back, you got a lot of room, and you got a lot of room in the front too, so you can fill that with batteries, you can put an electric motor in the back, and then you can fill the top of that with batteries, and you have yourself an electric Fiero. So they built a handful of these things, and they were super cool because the Fiero honestly always looked like a cheap exotic car. Obviously, people build their Ferrari and Lamborghini kit cars on them because they're shaped like that classic wedge. They look fast, and if you see a Fiero, you're like, that actually looks interesting. And it was kind of built just like this thing: electric motor, motor controller, a stack of batteries, and you open the fuel door to plug it in with an extension cord. It charges on a standard 120 volt extension cord, and it's pretty bad, like antique EVs were. It used a big 9-inch GE motor. It had a Curtis motor controller, and the top speed was supposed to be 75 miles an hour. That's horrific because it only made 23 horsepower, and then that motor was still mated to the factory 5-speed manual transmission. So you had all kinds of options to drive the thing, and it still could only go 75 miles an hour, which is tragic. And the range was rated at 50 miles. This thing also rated at 50 miles, and as we know, it gets somewhere in the 20 to 30s. And 0 to 60, you're thinking electric car, it's gonna be fast. No, 11.2 seconds, 0 to 60. So it's not fast. Obviously, it probably weighs about the same as a standard Fiero, and I'd say it sounds as fast as a Fiero 2M4. So it's a pretty slow car overall, but like I said, it looked pretty cool. It was very futuristic. It had big solar panels slapped on the hood, the roof, the deck lid. Although, if you know anything about those solar panels on cars, they're basically worthless. It's kind of like a trickle charger. It won't like gain any range. You could pretty much leave it outside forever and it will just kind of maintain the batteries for you. At best, it'll run the HVAC, which is honestly a really nice feature. But it had solar panels on it. That looked cool. It was a Fiero. That looked cool. The director of the Naked Gun movies bought one because it looked cool. And then it was in the Naked Gun 2.5 and in the Naked Gun 33 1/3. So now I've talked you into buying this very cool old electric Fiero. It's simple. You had to buy a Fiero. Hopefully you already had one on hand. And then you would send this thing off to a company that hasn't existed in 20, 30 years at this point. This was in 1985. And you would pay them $27,000 more on top of your Fiero to put some solar panels, batteries, and a motor in that thing so you could drive it around. You would be the talk of the town, there's no doubt about it. You would have a car that there might be 10 of in the world, but that came at a very high price. $27,000 in 1985 is insane money. In fact, that's about $75,000 in 2023 money. And that would explain why there aren't many of them around. There's plenty more to the Destiny 2000 story, but first I need to take a second to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. Squarespace gives people a beautiful and powerful online platform from which to create your website. You can connect with your audience and generate revenue through gated members-only content, manage your members, send email communications, and leverage audience insights, all on one easy-to-use platform. You can create a community on your Squarespace website with a fully integrated commenting system that supports threaded comments, replies, and likes, and use their powerful blogging tools to categorize, share, and schedule your posts too. So head on over to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch your website, go to squarespace.com/WatchJRGo to save 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain. Huge thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's get back to the Destiny 2000. So now you guys know all about the factory converted electric Fiero. It's time to talk about how I didn't end up with one. So, I saw this thing pop up on Facebook Marketplace and everybody tagged me in it. And I was like, I have to have this. This is the coolest car I've seen in forever. It was trash. And I can't stress this enough. As you guys know, Fieros are fiberglass and their bodies, after they've been beat up, are just destroyed. It was white. You could tell there was damage to the fiberglass all over the car. The interior wasn't looking great, and the ad stated right in it, just add batteries and go. Well, if you guys know anything about golf cart batteries, floor cleaner batteries, they are not cheap. So I went and looked and I was like, you know what, I could fix this and it's probably worth it. And then we could sell it and make a little bit of money. Those batteries, 18 Trojan R25s, keep that in mind, they cost about $4,500, or more than basically every Fiero from that era is worth. So obviously if you have like an 88 or 87 GT or an 88 Fiero, those are worth a ton of money. But these Fieros, the very first ones, 85, 86, that's when you could buy the Destiny 2000, they are really not worth anything. So you're upside down the minute you buy the batteries. And when I say upside down, you're really upside down. But I pressed on trying to buy it so we could fix this thing on the channel. It just seemed like a really cool project. And I like the really cool, super rare cars that no one has. Although I have found out very quickly, just like I'd be upside down in this Fiero, I'm super upside down in this. People are very upset that it's a Geo Metro, and apparently I'm selling the most expensive Geo Metro in the world for $4,000. I think it's a great deal. You have a car that no one else has, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. But I have the messages here. The messages are from 2019, the first time I got my hands on this thing. So I asked, have any interior shots or was it gutted? And he sent me the interior shots, and there were stains on the seats and the usual stuff that you see in an 85 Fiero where the windows are probably leaking around the seals. And he said the interior is secure. 2 offers are pending. We'll know by 6 p.m. If car is available. Google it for more information. And I said, are those offers at your asking prices? And because I was in, I would have paid him his ask on the spot or more. And then he just repeats the thing again, 2 offers pending, we'll know by 6 p.m. if car is available. I said, you said that, I'll give you all of your money, I need this car. I said, he was asking $1,250. The seller said, sorry about that, John, but I've made appointments with other people prior to your inquiry. I will be glad to contact you later if they don't work out, which is nonsense. Don't do that. Just take the offer that's like for full price. But anyway, I said, how much money do you need to tell them sorry it's already sold? And he said, I gave my word, John, sorry. And then I, of course, hit him up at 6. I said, it's 6, what's the word? And he said, sold. And I said, shoot me their name so I can offer them more money. And he said, I'll have to ask him about it, and then he was gone. Never heard anything else from him. So it popped back up, like a week later, obviously, because someone else bought it and figured out, oh, this is a really bad idea that doesn't make sense. Like, you can't quite flip that car. So it showed back up on Facebook Marketplace for $2,000, and I don't know where that message is, but I immediately was like, I'm on my way hooking up the trailer, and he was like, it's gone, which is insane. How does that happen? So it popped up on Facebook Marketplace again, just a couple months later, this time in a salvage yard, and they were asking $5,000 for the car, which is insane because obviously we know they just paid $2,000 for it. So I offered $2,500 for the car this time, which is completely fair. Obviously they just paid $2,000 and they were trying to like double, triple their money almost. And I said, 2,500 bucks, that way you make some money, you're covered for your time hauling it home, and I still didn't get the car bought. And it's probably still in that salvage yard rotting, and I'm sure there's really nothing left of the car now. They can't last very long outside anyway. So that is the end of my story of the Destiny 2000, the car that I worked so hard to buy for you guys, and it just did never work out. It definitely would have been the rarest car on the channel, even beating this thing. I really want to find a car that's a low production number, like 20. That's like the ideal car for me. That way most of them have already been destroyed, and I have the one that's left. Now I've heard of about 20 of these things. So, you know, it's not quite the rarest one in the world, but there's not many of these left either. Hopefully you learned something new about an extremely rare EV. I don't think there's a single YouTube video about this car out there, but now you know the story of the Destiny 2000. And I had to throw a shameless plug in there for another extremely rare EV. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to head on over to shop.watchjrgo.com for cool shirts just like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. And I will talk to you next time. Anyway, if you want to buy this Electria, it's now for sale too. I've done everything I need to do on it. It's very sorted at this point. And since I'm not trying to rip anybody off, $4,000 will get it bought. As you guys know, I've got $4,000 in it, maybe even a little bit more. I'm asking $5,000, but the first $4,000 takes it home, that's for sure.